Allie.
And I'm Marcella, and we're interns at the National Marine Life Center for the summer 2021 session.
In this video, we're going to walk you through the rehabilitation process for our harbor seals. So just to start, our mission here at NMLC is to rehabilitate and release stranded marine mammals and sea turtles in order to advance science and education in marine wildlife health and conservation.
Stranding occurs when a marine animal comes on shore or near shore and is sick, trapped, injured, or dead. There are a number of reasons this may happen, either from natural causes or as a result of human interaction. Natural causes include, but are not limited to, disease, malnourishment, injury, maternal separation, or temperature. Some examples of human interaction include entanglement in marine debris or fishing gear, ingestion of plastic, oil spills, ship strikes, pollution, sound, or harassment. Harassment consists of any direct human interaction with an animal, ranging from unlawful proximity to the animal to touching or causing any kind of physical harm. Because of human interaction and pollution, it is important to be mindful of our activities at the beach. If you see a marine mammal, be sure to maintain proper distance and to notify your local stranding organization. Additionally, when participating in a beach or boating day, be sure to leave with all of your trash and to not throw anything into the ocean. Another great way to combat issues of entanglement is to participate in beach cleanups, or on your beach day, pick up anything you see lying around and then properly dispose of it into a trash bin.
NMLC, we have seen multiple cases related to human interaction, both from plastic pollution and harassment. Most recently was our seal patient named Atlas, who was first reported on March 23, 2021, by concerned citizens who spotted him on the rocks of Cape Cod Canal. He was severely entangled in fishing gear, which weighed about 2.6 pounds and trailed 130 centimeters down his back. Unfortunately, seals do not know when help is on the way, and Atlas proved to be difficult for collection, requiring sea extraction by boat by the IFAW Marine Mammal Rescue Team. The amount of gear wrapped around his body was extensive around his neck, weighing him down, exhausting him, and making it impossible to hunt. Therefore, he was found to be very weak upon collection, but thankfully sustained only minor wounds. He was admitted here to NMLC on March 24, 2021.
Harassment is a significant issue that is commonly seen around harbor seal pupping season. On the East Coast, the season runs from late April to mid-June. After the pups are born, they spend a lot of time resting on the beach while their mother is hunting. Oftentimes, when people come across a lone pup, they assume the pup is stranded and get too close. If the mother seal sees the situation, she will often abandon her pup for her own safety. So if you ever come across a seal on shore, it is the law to stay 150 feet away under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. The best course of action is to call your local stranding organization so that experienced individuals can assess the situation.
Montauk, one of our 2020 harbor seal pups, is a great example of what can happen when seals fall victim to human interaction, especially at such a young age. Montauk was rescued a total of 3 times in his short life. His first rescue was by Marine Mammals of Maine, and he was admitted to NMLC on May 27, 2020, due to direct human interaction when a well-meaning citizen collected him out of the water. After months of rehabilitation, Montauk was released for the first time on September 2, 2020. Sadly, Montauk did not last very long in the wild, as he was unable to thrive on his own, and fell victim to human interaction again when people got too close, took photos, and let their dogs near him. Montauk went through rehab a second time and was released on October 15, 2020. He then chose a populated area to rest along Sandwich Boardwalk, exposing him to more people and dogs. After 9 days of monitoring, he was discovered to have become entangled. IFAW's team brought him back to NMLC for the final time on October 24, 2020, and then he was deemed non-releasable by the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. He now resides at the Virginia Aquarium. We are happy that Montauk is now in his forever home, but we always hope to release all patients back into the wild permanently.
At NMLC, we do not handle the response or rescue of the seals that enter our hospital for rehabilitation. Typically, the seals that come here are rescued by our partner organizations, College of the Atlantic, Marine Mammals of Maine, Seacoast Science Center, and IFA. When contacted about a stranded seal, these organizations will monitor the area for up to 24 hours and then determine if the seal needs to be collected. Upon collection, these organizations work to stabilize the seal before transporting them to our hospital.
Upon arrival, the first thing our staff and vets do is an admit exam. The animal is first weighed in its crate and then released into the assigned enclosure for the exam. Once out of the crate, it will be restrained so that a trained staff member can draw blood and administer any injections that may be needed. While still restrained, we measure the straight length of the seal using a tape measure. Staff will also check for external wounds on the front and hind flippers. Once these procedures are completed, staff will collect swabs to test for viral infections. Depending on the admit, we may also give the seal a flipper tag to help with identification. This entire process is essential for our vets to determine a course of treatment for each individual seal.
Upon admittance, seals will also get tube fed. When harbor seal pups arrive, they are maternally dependent, which means they will still be feeding from their mother in the wild. For the first few weeks of rehabilitation, they will be fed pup formula, which is a mixture of salmon oil, water, and a milk matrix. We often mix in glucose, salt, and other medications that are ordered by the vet. We are now going to show you the process of administering the feed. At least 2 people are required to feed a pup, a restrainer and a tuber. If there are multiple pups in one enclosure, sometimes a crowder border is necessary to separate the pup being fed from the others. It also provides protection for the restrainer and tuber. Before doing anything directly with the seals, it is important to put on proper personal protective equipment, or PPE. For both the restrainer and tuber, this requires gloves. The restrainer also needs to wear arm guards and what we call grundens. These are basically waterproof overalls. This prevents any part of the restrainer's skin from coming into contact with the seal and also protects them if the seal becomes agitated and tries to scratch or bite. Once prepared, the restrainer will position themselves behind the seal. They then toss a towel over the seal's head and put both hands over its skull. It is important during this part not to have hands wrapped around the seal's neck and not to put fingers too close to its mouth. Once the head is secured, the restrainer puts their knees on either side of the seal's body, being sure not to kneel on the front flippers. At this point, it is important that the restrainer is not sitting on the seal or putting any weight on it. The seal should be secure between their knees and their head should be secure in their hands. Once the seal is restrained, the towel can come off. Once the restrainer is positioned, the tuber kneels in front of the seal. First, they measure the tube from the tip of the flipper to the tip of the snout. This gives an educated approximation of where their stomach is. It is necessary to mark this spot at all times so the tuber knows when to stop inserting the tube. You bring the tube up to the seal's mouth, and if they do not open, then you can use one end of the tube to put light pressure on the gape of the seal's mouth. This causes the seal to open its mouth so the tube then can be slid into their esophagus. The tube is advanced until the mark reaches the tip of the snout. When the tuber reaches the mark, there are 3 indicators to look and listen for. First, the seal must be breathing well, but sometimes they hold their breath, so it is important to be patient. It is good to check that their nostrils are moving and that their body is expanding and contracting with each breath. You should also hear the seal inhale and exhale. The tuber also must listen at the under end of the tube for stomach noises. These are gurgling sounds that ensure the tube is in the stomach. The third indicator that is not necessary but is good to note is vocalizations, which are common for harbor seal pups. After noting the indicators, the tuber may take the syringe with the feed in it and plunge it into the tube. Once the whole feed has been plunged, the tuber will crimp the tube so that none of the feed drips out while they remove the tube from the animal's body. Crimping also prevents the tuber from siphoning the seal's stomach. The tuber then leaves the enclosure with the feeding supplies. To dismount, the restrainer replaces the towel over the seal's head and while continuing to hold the head, steps onto one foot first, followed by the other, taking care not to step on the seal's flippers or any of the other seals in the enclosure. The restrainer backs away from the animal and exits the enclosure. When the seal pups first come to us, they are tube fed 5 times per day. Their first feed begins at 7 a.m. and they are fed every 4 hours until 11 p.m. Like we mentioned before, they typically begin with pup formula, sometimes mixed with an electrolyte solution for hydration. As they progress, the pup formula is mixed with fish gruel, which is made from blended fish, oil, salt, and water. In the wild, they would be weaned off of their mother's milk between 4 and 6 weeks after birth, so this is our way of weaning them and getting them used to fish. Eventually, they will be tube-fed only fish gruel with supplements until they can begin to eat whole fish.
The newly admitted SEALs will also receive a name that they will have for their remaining time at NMLC. Each year, the staff and volunteers vote on a naming theme that we will use for the entire year. This year, in 2021, it is Greek and Roman mythology. Some past themes have been Harry Potter and Lighthouses of New England. After the entire admit process is complete, the SEALs are moved into an enclosure we call dry holding. This is usually where our newly admitted and most critical SEALs are placed, as it provides easy access to the animals and restricts their activity level while recovering from any ailments. This enclosure does not have a pool attached like some of the others, but it is big enough where we can fit a kiddie pool inside. This allows us to give the SEALs supervised swim time when they are stable enough in very shallow water. Most of our patients come in very lethargic and unable to swim for a long amount of time without rest. As the patients become stronger, they will move on to bigger enclosures that have deeper pools for them to swim. The next enclosure that many of the SEALs move to are the pods. These enclosures have dry docked area, also known as a haul-out, with an attached pool, and the SEALs are able to get longer supervised swim time where they are fully submerged and able to move around a little bit more. In these enclosures, the SEALs also start to receive fish school. Fish school is when one of the volunteers or staff on site use tongs to move a fish around the pool, mimicking the behavior of a live fish. This engages the SEAL and helps them learn how to track fish, which is something they would have to do in the wild. Sometimes, if the dead fish are not enticing to the SEAL, we use small live fish to help pique their interest. These pods are also used for SEALs who may be sick and require isolation from the other SEALs, but are also strong enough to swim on their own for extended periods of time. Zeus, one of the harbor seal pups that we admitted this summer, had an infected wound on his neck. Since he had an open wound for quite a bit of time, he was kept by himself in one of the pods to keep it from becoming infected. Once his wound was fully healed, he was moved into SEAL enclosure. Once the SEALs have gained enough strength to swim on their own for longer amounts of time, they are moved to SEAL enclosure, which is a larger enclosure with a deeper pool than the pods. Since we can fit multiple pups in this enclosure, the SEALs are able to socialize more with one another. SEALs can be paired together in other enclosures as well. They also get extended amounts of swim time that will continue to increase until they are able to haul out on their own consistently and able to withstand the water for the majority of the day. As the SEALs get older and stronger, we will start to slowly wean them off pup formula, introduce fish gruel, and eventually incorporate whole fish into their diet. The first step in incorporating whole fish is to restraint feed. This is a staff-only procedure that introduces fish to the SEAL pups, allowing their natural instincts to kick in and learn how to independently swallow whole fish. In the beginning, staff will place the fish in the mouth of the SEAL and slowly push the fish past the gag reflex until the SEAL swallows it. Staff will progressively encourage the SEAL to actively advance the fish into their throat and swallow on their own. Usually when the SEAL is being restraint fed, we will take them off of the late night feed at 11 p.m., but will still be tube feeding during the 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. feeds. When the SEALs are able to swallow independently, we will move to Tong Feeding. This is when someone uses tongs to place the fish near the mouth of the SEAL for them to grab onto it and eat it. The tongs are used to stabilize and help the SEAL position the fish in their mouth while swallowing. Once the SEAL is eating the fish successfully, meaning they are stabilizing and positioning it without assistance, we can move them along to mass feeding. This is when we dump the fish into the water for them to eat completely on their own without any humans present. Once the animals are mass feeding successfully, they can move into the pre-release pools.
The pre-release pools are the last enclosure the SEALs reside in before being released into the wild. The SEALs will gain weight and experience stimulation through playtime with other SEALs as well as environmental enrichment devices. These EEDs, as we call them, help the SEALs stay engaged and not become bored. They also stimulate play behaviors,
which for seals are usually great practice for hunting in the wild. The seals will stay in these pools until they are able to pass a release test. To pass this test, the seals have to be 50 pounds or about 22.7 kilograms, have to eat completely on their own, and have finished all of their treatments. If this is accomplished, the seal is ready to be released into the wild. Once the seals are approved for release, organizing staff, volunteers, and interns is essential. Other things need to be considered as well, like weather, tides, and water conditions. The morning of the release, the seal or seals will be pulled from the pool and put into their crate. They get weighed one last time and then loaded into the van. The seal is driven to a nearby beach where volunteers are ready to help with the process. Typically, multiple volunteers are assigned to each seal and are ready to help unload the seals from the van and carry them down to the beach to the water's edge. One person will be tasked with opening the crate, while one or two people will have crowder boards to protect the crate opener. There might be several others with crowder boards surrounding the area to make sure the seals safely make their way into the ocean. If it is a public event, the area will be sectioned off to make sure people do not get too close and startle the seals. Release days are always very exciting for those who help bring the seals back to health as well as for the public. It is important to note that the rehabilitation process is not the same for all of the seals and does not always look exactly like how we have explained it in this video. Each patient is different and requires different care. We hope you enjoyed learning about the rehabilitation process of our harbor seal patients this summer.